field, if you're out at war for like years and years and there's no woman around, you're going to have sex with other men. It's a very natural thing to do. Okay, it doesn't mean you're homosexual, okay? So the sacred band of Thebes became the dominant military power after Sparta, okay? It's called the sacred band. And they were like the vanguard. They were the spearhead. They would be the first in battle. And they were so ferocious that their enemies would run away, okay? Then what happened is that Macedonia would copy the Theban system. Who's the most famous Macedonian in the world? Do you guys know? Which Macedonian is the most famous ever in human history? You know the name, but you may not know he's Macedonian. Alexander the Great, okay? His father is Philip II. Philip II is the one who actually built the greatest army in the world, the Macedonian army. And it was Alexander the Great, his son, who would take this army and conquer Persia. Okay, we'll learn this later on. But Philip II learned all this from Thebes. And at first, Macedonia and Thebes were allies, but Philip II was very ambitious. So then he wanted to conquer all of mainland Greece. And in 338 BCE, at the Battle of Chaeronea, Macedonia fought against the combined might of Thebes and Athens. And Macedonia destroyed Thebes and Athens, okay? Because Macedonia basically copied the system from Sparta and Thebes. At this point, Macedonia should have destroyed the entire Theban and Athenian army. But when all was lost, the sacred band, they stood in the middle of the field and they blocked the advance of the Macedonian charge so that everyone could escape back into the cities. They did not fear death. They welcomed death. Okay? For them, what mattered was honor and sacrifice. And that's how you create the greatest army in the world. Okay? Does that make sense? So these historical analogies give credence to our thought experiment. Okay, now we're going to look at a question, which is, okay, why does this system work? Okay, so let's do game theory. Game theory. Game theory is just a study of how to win games, okay? It's a very general thing. So let's do a thought experiment and just say there's about 1 million people in the world, okay? There's 1 million people in the world, and they're all trying to win the game against each other, but only one can win. Well, according to game theory, the best way to win a game is by, does anyone know? Cheating, okay? Cheating. If you follow the rules, you will never win the game, you have to cheat. And in this game, the best way to win is by coordinating with other people, right? Because everyone's playing by himself. So if you can work with other people, then that gives you a huge advantage over everyone else, right? The problem with this is the moment that people start coordinating, it forces an arms race of coordination. So maybe these few are working together. These 4 now are forced to work together, which now forces these 5 to work together, okay? So if you are the first to work together, you get screwed in the process. So if you cheat, you have to cheat secretly, okay? You have to coordinate without people knowing you're actually coordinating together. You have to conspire secretly, okay? And there are different ways to collaborate secretly, okay? So let's look at examples. So family is one example, right? Of coordination, synchronicity. Another example is religion. If you have a leader, right? If you have a similar race, ethnicity, and you have a similar language. Okay, so these are examples of how you get people to coordinate together. The problem is that these are all obvious to people, which forces them to do the same thing, okay? But there's a strategy that you can use that allows you to coordinate secretly and defeat all your enemies. And this strategy is called transgression. Transgression. The breaking of taboos, the breaking of social norms, the breaking of social laws. Transgression. Okay, so let's study this concept. All right, so the idea is that, the theory is that the greater you transgress, okay? This is the level of transgression. The greater your cohesion, which leads to synchronicity. Okay, that's a theory I want to propose to you. All right? So, transgression, I mean, it's a very simple idea. You're breaking the rules, right? You're cheating. And therefore, everyone wants to put you in prison. Which means that the only way that you can survive is if you keep the secret among your group, right? Which forces cohesion. Does that make sense? All right? And we see this in all aspects of society, right? So the most basic form of transgression is just joking or pranking, right? So for example, you guys, 6 of you, decide, you know what, we're going to play a joke on the school. We're going to cover all the rooms with toilet paper. It's a joke, it's a prank. But obviously, you don't want to get caught because the school will punish you. And this joke and this prank will make you more cohesive, right? Because now you have a secret amongst yourself. And if anyone betrays you, you're all screwed. Right? Does that make sense? That's the logic. The other thing that's really interesting is that when you transgress, when you break a taboo, you feel empowered. You feel liberated. And it becomes addictive.